A congressional subcommittee's members will shortly address one of the world's most sensitive and critical scientific problems. Where did the virus that causes COVID-19 originate? The subcommittee was established by a resolution passed by the House on January 9 and is tasked with looking into all facets of the pandemic and our country's reaction. 5 Democrats and 7 Republicans make up its membership, which is currently unidentified. Although the origin mystery is alluring, it is also the one that they will be least likely and most unqualified to answer. Therefore, they should direct their goal in another direction. For 3 years, virologists, epidemiologists, molecular evolutionary biologists, and other specialists worldwide have researched the origin. They carefully examined the COVID virus genome and compared it to coronaviruses of a similar type that have long been known to exist in animals. In addition, they have examined its unusual characteristics, speculated on its evolutionary processes, and set it among other dangerous new viruses. According to most of these scientists, this virus spread naturally from a non-human animal host to humans. It closely matches other coronaviruses discovered in little bats that sleep in caves in southern China and Southeast Asia after extensive field work and meticulous genetic research. In addition, other wild mammals concerning coronaviruses have been identified, including raccoon dogs, palm civets, and pangolins. One of these creatures may have served as an intermediate host for the COVID virus following close contact with bats. How could a raccoon dog endure such a situation? By being caught, confined, and transported alongside bats and other creatures as part of China's widespread and significant wildlife for food trade. Such sharing of coronaviruses has occurred before. The initial SARS coronavirus, which was obtained from bats and spread to people, was intermediately hosted by palm civets that were transported to the city of Guangzhou in 2003. Additionally, in the Huanan wet market of Wuhan, where the first few dozen confirmed cases of COVID-19 surfaced, palm civets, raccoon dogs, and other wildlife were being sold as food in late 2019. After the SARS incident in 2003, it was never improbable or unthinkable that a different coronavirus could escape from bats into humans and create much greater destruction. David Quammen, a science journalist and author, foresaw it his 2012 in the book Spillover, not because he was foresighted, but rather because he summarized what some of the top authorities on viral ecology and evolution were saying. Since early 2020, some commentators on the origin of the COVID-19 virus, largely amateur investigators and some media, have suggested that the coronavirus most likely originated in a laboratory and then made its way to humans. According to the story, it was either created through genetic engineering for sinister intentions or altered through well-intentioned but careless studies to make it more contagious among people. This idea states that it was accidentally or purposefully discharged from the laboratory. A laboratory leak is theoretically plausible, and some renowned scientists have acknowledged that the danger should be considered. And it ought to. The lab leak theory is the unlikely alternative to the considerably more likely theory of a natural genesis. We need additional information to make a more confident decision, including more field sampling of viruses from wild animals in southern China and Southeast Asia and other samples along the supply chain that has brought such wildlife to Chinese markets. If there is anything that would point to a lab accident, let that be known as well. However, a substantial body of data favors the theory of natural genesis, and there isn't any conclusive proof that a lab leak has occurred. But if that disparity were to shift, so might the scientific consensus. That is how science functions. The significance of this origin query goes much beyond the scope of COVID-19. It has ramifications for how we design our institutions and communities going forwards, protecting ourselves from potential pandemic dangers or failing to do so. Think about one conclusion you could make in the event of a lab leak: less science is needed, especially the kind that tinkers with harmful pathogens. We also need more science, particularly the kind that examines the hazardous diseases that hide in wild animals. This comes from a natural spillover. It was those stupid scientists in a Chinese lab that released this deadly virus upon us, according to a lab leak. Therefore, rather than promoting openness and scientific interchange, our ties with China may be characterized by suspicion, accusation, the presumption of guilt, and even a touch of racism. From a natural spillover, everyone who consumes products derived from biological ecosystems with a wide range of biological diversity, whether it be meat or essential minerals for technology like coltan and cobalt, has some of the blame for the emergence of new viruses that target humans. Why? Invading such environments, such as the Congolese woods where Colton is mined, and coming into contact with the virus-bearing animals that calls them home is how these viruses get to us. This origin puzzle needs to be resolved because we must act. We require more robust international surveillance systems for future outbreaks, improved national structures for pandemic planning and response, significantly more global training for molecular biologists and disease field scientists, and deeper international collaborations, notably with China. Only these steps will strengthen the areas where our reaction to COVID-19 failed miserably. In all of this, Congress has a significant role to play. It's not, however, trying to figure out where the infection came from. Instead, the many facets of the country's pandemic response that call for policy review should be examined by the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, as it has been mandated to do, vaccine development and rollout, taxpayer-funded relief programs, the advantages and disadvantages of closing schools, and the crucial balance between civil liberties and public health. On the other hand, it is better left to scientists to answer the scientific enigma surrounding the virus's origins and how it entered humans. It's outside the scope of the 12 partisan members of Congress, and if they're smart, they'll leave it in professional hands.